You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So, whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Chris, Gopher's Workshop. I've got Aaron here. We're doing an interview. This is not our normal podcast episode, okay?
You can't tell.
I'm wanting to have a conversation with competitive players, but instead of bringing some random person on and making them feel awkward and potentially getting some not natural answers, Aaron is much more comfortable behind the mic. So what you're about to hear...
What you're actually saying is, instead of bringing someone on and being super mean to them, I'm going to bring Aaron on, who's already super used to everybody being mean to him.
There's a difference. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to be helpful. But these are important conversations that should be had more often. So anyway, what you're about to hear is an interview. This can apply to all of you. I hope you enjoy it.
It's going to be so good.
Okay, Aaron, you have stated many times that this upcoming season, you are wanting to, for lack of a better term, go for gold. Okay, you're wanting to become a very competitive player, and you're wanting to get on the top rankings for Blood Angels players.
Specifically, my this year goal, yes, is be in top rankings for my region.
The LMC.
The LMC, the Marshall Conference for Blood Angels. If I happen to get way higher than that, yay me. But the answer is the minimums. The minimum goal right now is LMC.
Yep.
Number one.
And part of the reason we had this conversation is because you noticed that the points differential between the top Blood Angels players for LMC versus the top Blood Angels players for Worlds, I mean, that is to say BCP.
Global, BCP global scores.
Their points aren't that different.
No.
So while we had a reasonable goal, and we're just kind of beginning to work on it, right? But we had a reasonable goal of LMC. We set our sights as a reasonable level. The reality is we may unintentionally be doing well globally because our specific faction was not super well represented this season for Blood Angels.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, next season, the next season is all 11th edition, whereas this one wasn't. Things could totally be different and more competitive. We're not saying that the points were so close, you're going for Worlds. That's not it. We're still keeping our sights reasonable. We have reasonable goals. But in your goal to be I don't want to say hyper competitive player, but like a leaderboard level competitive, I think there's some important conversations that should be had. Now, I have to start. I want to ask you some questions. I want your honest answers, but I need to start as the coach by admitting to everyone some realities of the world. Okay. So as a coach, your average coach, I don't care if we're talking about your local, tournament cool guy, whether we're talking about the coaches online that you go and pay for, whether that's Vanguard Tactics, or there's a whole bunch of them out there, right?
Yep.
They're trying to help you. And for some of them, you're even paying them to help you. But the reality is, even amongst our team here, you are paying for a part of their time, right?
Yep.
You're not getting their whole time. We kind of talk about it like, oh, this is my coach and he's helping me do this and whatever else. And that's great. And that is somewhat true. But the reality is every coach out there, like 99% of them, they're splitting their time, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not just helping one guy. There are some out there that are doing that, I'm sure, but there's so few of them, right? They're splitting their time amongst a big team of, 10 plus guys. Vanguard, I don't know how many they have in Patreon.
Thousands.
I assume it's thousands, right? So they're splitting their time. So while they are trying to help you, they're not like a personal coach. They're just a coach. And if you're wanting to be the number one Blood Angels person in the world, I'll be honest, you need a coach, but you don't just need a coach. You need probably like a personal coach, right? You need someone who's going to give you way more time than the average coach would.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that like I don't necessarily offer that, but the reality is between the store and how big our team has gotten and things like that, that's not a thing that I've been able to offer up until this point.
The reality check is I have already acknowledged I either have to be my own coach and face some real truths or realities, or get a personal coach.
Okay. And this brings me to my next point. It kind of goes both ways. Having a, for lack of a better term, distracted coach, or having a bad coach even, because there are some out there that claim to be good coaches but aren't. A coach does not limit your maximum potential.
Yeah.
Okay. That is on the player, right? How much time do you put in? How much effort do you put in?
Yep.
The maximum potential is based upon you as an individual. The coach does limit you, but they basically limit your rate of growth, not your maximum limit.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's another thing, right? For all of you out there that are, paying for some coach service or believe that you have a friend that's good enough to help coach you or whatever else, I'm not saying they can't help you. They absolutely can. But understand that even if you have a bad coach, you can still learn from them. The bad coach doesn't stop you from being a great player. They just make it take a lot longer to getting there because you're trusting them and their advice isn't necessarily the best. Okay. And I'll say some of this is true for me too, right? Like, again, whether it's because I'm split amongst 20 people or I'm dealing with the store or, my own personal life stuff, because we all have that. There are times where maybe I don't give the best advice and I give it based upon, here's my play style. I really try to do my best to limit that and not to force my play style onto anyone.
Yeah.
But we've seen how that inadvertently does happen. I play suppressors because they fit my play style really good. And all of a sudden, everyone says I've created a cult of suppressors are good. I didn't create a cult. I pointed out a thing that if you have the right play style, they could be utilized very well. Now that other people saw that, they try to, mimic it or mirror it, and they start to believe in it because it does work. It's not because it's bad. It's because it requires a certain kind of play style to get the maximum output out of. So, going on to the next thing, when we're talking about, and this is how theoretically, if I was a personal coach, instead of distracting myself with the whole team, if I was a personal coach, these are the questions I should ask when you come to me and say, I want to go for like billboards, right? I want to go for I don't know what you call it, but like leadership or leaderboard
scores,
what I'm looking for. When you're wanting to go for leaderboard this year, these are questions I should ask. And these are similar questions that I ask to people who are going from hard casual to like kind of competitive. So you've probably heard some of these before, but I'm going to ask them again. When it comes to goals, the first thing I should ask anybody is, what factions do you play? What factions are you specifically wanting to focus on for like your leaderboard? Do you have one in mind?
The only faction that I can say I regularly play is Blood Angels. The only one that I have any intention ever of scoreboarding or leaderboarding or however we want to call it,
sure,
is Blood Angels.
And that's okay, right? Okay. But here's why the question is important. And this is like somewhat educating the audience as much as you. The reason this first question is so important is not because it's like, oh, well, you're wanting to play them, they're bad right now.
Yep.
No, there's no such thing as a bad faction, except for Imperial Agents. I joke, right? If you want to do Imperial Agents, you could actually make them good. There is a couple of guys out there that are doing surprisingly well with arguably the worst faction in the game. Because again, the game is more balanced than we want to give it credit for. So as much as I make that joke, if you came to me and said, well, I own Death Guard and Thousand Sons and World Leaders and Chaos Space Marines, and I got like all the Chaos shit because I think it's cool. That's a different type of player.
Yep.
They can still leaderboard, but that's a different type of player than says, I own Blood Angels. Yeah, I own some other shit, but I don't want to play it. Okay, well now we have a realistic goal, right? Do you want to be a winning player for Blood Angels? Yes. If you owned a bunch of factions and you're like, I could play any of them, I just want to like win some GTs and get my name up there and feel like I'm winning. Okay, cool. But that's different, right? You could be the #1 Blood Angels player in the world, and you could win exactly 0 first place GTs. That's statistically possible.
Yep.
Okay, but that's a different goal than some guy who says, I'll play whatever's good right now. I want to be #1 somewhere. At some point, that's what I want. I want to hold the little trophy that says I'm the best today. Okay, different types of players. There's nothing wrong with either of them, but you have to recognize your goals. So you start with the faction. Now, to be clear, when I ask faction, I'm not asking about lists. I'm not asking about what are you playing right now.
You were literally just asking,
what models do we have
I
access to?
Yep.
What do you want to play? What do you enjoy? So now, because we're in 11th edition, this is where we have to switch up the next question. Now, out of nowhere, the second question, and this has to be second. Okay. What force dispositions do you know and do you enjoy playing?
I know 2. I know Purge the Foe, and I know Taken Hold.
Okay.
I enjoy playing Taken Hold.
Mm-hmm.
I feel comfortable in learning. Oh God, I can never remember the names of them.
Priority assets, disruption,
and priority assets. Reconnaissance, I have no interest in. 0. I will learn to fight against it. I will never play it.
Okay. So this is an important question for a couple of reasons. We're just going to go over some of the reasons this is important. Okay. Someone having a aversion to something, if you're like, I'm willing to play any of them, except for this one, I don't think it really fits my playstyle. That's probably an honest answer of it doesn't fit your playstyle.
Yes.
Now, maybe because you don't know it super well, I might be able to point out this is what it actually boils down to. It's not as bad as you think. You could enjoy this. And as a coach, sometimes I have to break the mold, open your eyes, whatever you want to call it, to show you have more options than you think you do. But again, if they're open enough to say they're like, I haven't really played priority assets, but I could do that, or disruption, or whatever it is, right? That shows some amount of flexibility, which we'll get more into in a second, but that's important. If they show up and say I play Take and Hold because that's my favorite detachment and that's what I want to play, that's a bad sign. Inflexibility is a problem, not because it's going to limit you on winning a GT or doing well.
It's because when the dispositions change, when things happen, and you don't get access to that, because it's happened to a couple people, they don't have access.
Yep.
That's it.
And we've already, the edition's been out a month, right? So the fact that you say you only know 2 of them well, that's not actually a negative. We've only been playing for a month or 2, right? So that's reasonable. That's probably most people right now. It's oh yeah, I've mostly been playing with my friends. I played a mountain of Take and Hold. I actually don't have a friend who plays Reconnaissance yet. That's not unreasonable.
Yeah.
Later on down the road, a year and a half from now, what do you mean you've never played against Reconnaissance? Why not? That's different. Okay?
Well, and again, I've played against all of them at least once. But the ones that I'm most comfortable understanding and knowing, because I've played against so much, or I have played, is Take and Hold and Purge.
Right. And again, new edition thing, that's reasonable. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that mentality, right? If you decide that you want to be a leaderboard player, there is some amount of, you can't be the grumpy nerd in the basement who's no, but I played this list back in, 7th edition, and I think it's the best. And
why is it garbage?
and it's just like, I'm not going to change. I just need to figure out how to play what I was playing. The world's a different place now. And I don't just mean actually the world has changed, which is also true, but I just mean like the edition plays very different. The units that you used to play used to be way more efficient or way less efficient. And like, there's a lot of old heads that are like, oh yeah, those are garbage because they've been garbage forever, right? Also, it was also garbage back in like 7th edition, the entire Orc Codex. Don't touch it. But right now they're doing really good. It's a simple example, but it's one of those things that flexibility is important. That's not to say that you can't have preferences or whatever else, but you have to have some flexibility when you're trying to go for that top place.
Yep.
Because there's a reality of you have to play with the rules that are given, play with the points that are given. We talked to this a little bit about it last episode where like when the points change, it's not, shit, I'm fucked. It's okay, these are the points now. I need to adjust my list for those points, but I'll learn how to work around that change.
And we've even talked about it before, you and I, because there's a chance that I don't have my detachment that I like to run anymore. There's a real risk of that. Especially if they decide Blood Angel's Armory Rule becomes the detachment I like to run, which is lag. There's a real risk of me not having taken hold in that anymore, and I have to choose something else. And if that happens, this is why I've been experimenting and testing, learning, I should say. I haven't really played or tested anything else, but I've been learning other specific detachments, and this is exactly why my playstyle, I say, reconnaissance is not the one. I do not want to be places and do things and kill things, and like I don't do multiple things at one time.
Sure, and to be fair, that's also somewhat disruption. But again, it kind of depends.
Disruption is about
yeah.
Again, there was a very blatant, glaring difference between the two of them for me, which is disruption wants you to do it some of the time. I want you to do multiple things, whereas Recon just wants you to do multiple things. And I feel as a Blood Angels player and my aggressive playstyle, I can't do multiple things all the time. You can get me to do at best 2, which is already what Taken Hold is asking of me. Because you're asking me to do multiple, I cannot force my brain to do that. That's just going to be a bad mix for me.
Sure. Okay. So one of the things I've been doing during this conversation that I mentally do with a lot of people when I'm trying to gauge, like, for lack of a better term, how competitive they are. Mm-hmm. But this is where I think a lot of people start, right? This is not special.
Yeah.
We've been working together long enough. I've been tallying how many times you make references to whether it's competitive play or abilities of like what you're doing as it relates to the specific army or units you're playing.
Yep.
Versus how many times you relate to you as a player. You're a normal person who like knows the game well enough that they could be competitive. Maybe they're not there, but they're working on it. These numbers very heavily weighted on the army side. They're talking about, my units are this and my list is this and this is my detachment and this, and they talk about their, like the army is them. Okay. And if we're talking about on the lore side, I encourage this. Have fun. You're a Blood Angels player. You love Blood Angels. Yeah, okay, cool. But when we're talking about competitive play,
it's you.
Correct. And this is a giant thing, right? A lot of people identify them with like, oh man, but I love the Terminators that get to uppy downy and custodes. And they're so good right now. Okay, but what happens when that changes? What happens when there's a points change? When these units get nerfed or buffed, whether it's with points or new codex or updated data sheets or whatever, right? If these happen and your competitive abilities are tied to them because you're playing what is good right now, points nerf happens. It's not the data sheet that gets nerfed. In addition to the data sheet, you as a player are getting nerfed. That's not a competitive player. And this is not to be rude or shitty to anyone. This is where everyone starts, right? They don't fully understand themselves as a player and what their abilities are. So they focus on the data sheets and the units and the models. and they think that's a part of the game. Where most competitive players shift from being kind of competitive to like actually scary competitive is when they start to realize that like, I don't give a shit what models I'm playing. Yes, I love Blood Angels. Yes, I love Space Wolf. Whatever it is. I love them aesthetically. I love them lore-wise. But also, whether or not I'm playing Death Company or JPI or Sanguinary Guard, they're all a jump pack guy to me, right? Because I am the competitive one. I am the player who gets to decide whether or not I win this game, not my models. Not
I make the pieces good. The pieces don't make me good.
Correct. And this means when there's points adjustments, you could find, we're going to get the Space Marine Codex soon, right?
Yep.
When we do, you could find out the JPI go up 100 points. They're not going to. But let's just say they do. No one's playing JPI. Absolutely, they're way too expensive. And then it turns out, if you used them and they were the thing that made you a good player, you got to start from scratch. You got to figure out how to be good again. But if you're a good player, a good competitive player, you can say, I don't care. You could take away half my data sheets. You don't even have to change the points. Just tell me I'm not allowed to play them. I'll rebuild my list. I'll figure it out and I'll still be able to win because I'm the thing that's competitive, not these models.
I used to, when I first started, every time you tell me build a list, tell me what your non-negotiables are. I'll help you figure it out from there. I used to think,
Most
pick my
of the
favorite
list.
model.
Also, this happens with a lot of people, not just you, but I remember when I asked for non-negotiables, people would just start rattling off like 3/4 of their list.
Yeah.
And I'm
this
like,
has to be in there.
Yep. And I'm like, no, I don't think you understand. Non-negotiables are like, no, but I think I can, for my playstyle, I can make suppressors good.
Yeah.
For my playstyle, I think I prefer having a lot of jump packs. That's not to say any of these individual units are non-negotiable. It's I prefer mobility. That's you, right? There are plenty of other players, and we're talking across any faction. We've got a Tau guy who's like, nope, I think Commander Farsight's great. I don't know how to use him yet, but I just look at the data sheet and I feel it, right? And that's part of his play style. He looks at the data sheet, he knows it's good. I don't know how to make it work yet, but I know it's good. That's a non-negotiable. Why? Because A, it's something that gets you excited, gets you motivated, and those two things are needed in order to push through all of the training and practice and whatever else to be a good player. It also speaks to your play style. And there's nothing, again, the game is so balanced.
Yep.
I don't care what your play style is, there's a way to make that play style work. The only play style that doesn't work competitively, period, and this is a hard and fast line, is stubbornness.
Yeah.
Right? I played this back in 7th and I think this is how guards should play. I played this back in 7th. This is how, like, I got Votan the minute the Codex came out and I'm convinced this is what needs to happen. That doesn't work. The world changes. You have to adapt. If you're not adapting, you are relying on those models to be competitive on their own. And that's not how models work. But also, even when they do work, because let's say GW underprices them and absolutely those models are good. The minute they fix that, you're no longer a competitive player. That's a problem. And we've had guys on the team that are exactly that way. They're working their way out of that. But we've had more than one person who had a competitive list and they were just on top of the world. They were winning left and right. And then out of nowhere, they got some nerfs and they're like, oh, I don't think it's so bad. And they realized that when their skill had to make up for the models becoming less competitive, they struggled all of a sudden. And they're like, man, how did 70 points make that much of a difference? Well, it turns out it wasn't 75. It was like 140 points. But, you know, how does that much make a difference? It's like, well, because now it's relying on you instead of the models.
I think the best example personally I can give in that scenario is I started with a mixed bag of tricks when I first built my first list. I was everywhere. I was told I need tank busting. I was told I need melee. I was told I need this and that and this and that. I put it all in. And slowly my list started to graduate and change to less guns, more speed. Then I got my codex and I'm like, I really like LAC. Like, I really love Liberator's assault group. So then I started to put more melee in. And there was a time where I tinkered with an amount of tank busting. And I kept telling you, I think tank busting is freaking terrible. I don't think it just feels so useless. And I kept talking about how bad tank busting was. And you're like, man, no, I don't know. You didn't tell me I was wrong. You told me, I don't know. reevaluate. The answer was never that it was bad. It's the fact that I didn't need it.
You were learning your play style.
Yep. I was compensating for the lack of ability by taking something like the Gladiator Lancer is the best example, right? I took the Gladiator Lancer because I felt like I needed tank busting. And then that turned into a Knight Lancer, which is hilarious that it evolved into a Lancer.
Even more tank busting.
Yeah. I was like, but this is right along my side. It's melee, and I know it's expensive, but I can make it work. And I did. Both lists were working.
Yeah.
But the problem was, again, I still felt like I was paying so much to have this tank busting that everybody kept telling me I needed. We graduated.
And through this whole process, yes, you needed tank busting. Every list needs to be able to bust tanks. But what you were doing specifically here, you have the Gladiator Lancer that doesn't require good positioning. It just requires line of sight. Get tank busted. Cool. Yep. I feel like I'm relying on 2 dice not to flub so often this feels bad.
Yep.
You go to the Gladiator Lancer. Now, you get more dice. But you don't get dice necessarily on turn 1 every time. You don't get dice every turn because it has to be melee. Sometimes we flub a charge roll. Again, on 2 dice, I'm relying on them not to mess up. But what you were learning through that process was positioning. And now that you're getting the Knight, learning positioning for the tank busting and how do I manipulate that? Then you graduated further to say, get rid of the Knight entirely. Now let's just take more dudes, and while they're nowhere near as efficient dice per tank damage, I can use the positioning I've learned and utilize my skill as a player to say that I could have so many more dice and use positioning properly to apply it onto the tanks in such a way that it ends up being more efficient.
What's hilarious is that inadvertently the Lancer taught me more about positioning than any amount of infantry units did. And we're talking JPI here, right? That's a big brick. Lancer taught me more. The reason? Where the JPI can be adjusted, that I can make that brick into a different shape. The Lancer is the same shape no matter what you do. His base is always an oval and it sucks. But because of that, I learned better positioning. Well, I don't want to be tucked in the building because that gives you line of sight. And I don't have any guns. So instead, I'm going to hide in this little corner. And yeah, I realize my butt's poking out, but that's a safe position because there's no guns there. Again, it just evolved to a point where now when I'm with, it's hilarious to watch too sometimes because I'll use my melee guys. And we discussed hidden in the last episode. I have made people hate hidden so hard because I'm like, no, but I understand, but you can't shoot me but I can see you. Like you're right there. Yep, but my tippy toe, yeah, it's on the square, and I haven't shot a gun. So, and you are 15 inches away, or 15.1. No dice, man. What the fuck? Yep. And again, this is because of the Lancer. It's not because I used a bunch of infantry dudes. It is 100% the Lancer all the way. Because it was so big, it taught me to appreciate more the adjustability of a big brick of dudes.
And it also taught you the nuances of towing on versus not towing on. And while it's different this edition than it was last, as far as infantry are concerned, because we don't have one-way mirror, etc., it still taught you how valuable that was. And you kept that as a player skill, not a model understanding. That's not a thing I learned about tanks and knights. And now that we're in 11th, I have to relearn that for all the infantry. Oh, I forgot to tow on. You took that as a skill as a player, not an understanding of a model. So now no matter what models you're using, that skill still sticks with you.
Yep.
So one of the things and kind of wrapping up this point a little bit before we move on, one of the big things is that if you have the skills as a player, the models you play with become less relevant. Yeah. I'm not saying that they're irrelevant, but they're less relevant. Now, every player, I don't care if they're literally a pro, we can pretend that we know who the best in the world is, whoever that guy is. We're going to say they're the best in the world. They still have to practice a list. You can't just hand them one and they, go, 10-0 at some GT. That's not how that works. They still need practice, right? But as much as they need practice, there is a drastic difference between a competitive player has such an understanding of the game and the skills needed for the game that I don't care what models you give me, I have the skills to make those models look way more impressive than someone without those skills, but has some crazy understanding of the list itself.
Yeah.
This is the same reason why we talk about, in the opposite vein, why so many people like net deck lists. Oh, this went like 6-0 at last weekend's GT. I'm going to try the list out. Yeah, but they have the skills that maybe that list actually isn't very good. Maybe that list could be way better. Maybe they know it could be better, but they didn't want to buy the models or something.
But they built the list to their play style.
Sure, and that's what I usually say. But even if we don't give them that excuse, if we just say they literally, this is a last second, they didn't think they were going to have time off, they decided to go to the GT, they didn't own the models they wanted to play. So they just played with what they had, but they still made it work. Why? Because they're such a good player. These are things that really create that line in the sand of competitive player, kind of, and competitive player borderline on like all the names you hear online of like, man, they're the best. You've never heard of that guy. You've never heard of this guy. Yep. They're pros. Like, all those pros have a level of skill that they can jump between factions because, yeah, they need to practice with the faction, but also there are plenty of pros out there that this month they're playing Blood Angels.
Yep.
And next month they're playing something else.
And I'm currently,
after that, they're playing something else.
I'm currently building a Knights army because we've even discussed, like, yes, I understand your Blood Angels through and through, but learning to play something different gives you the ability to bounce back and, like, recognize some things about other people's units and detachments, and you being able to, like, play a different thing. You don't have to even be good at it. Just learning the basics of it, playing it, learning how to position Knights better. We already talked about how arguably me playing Knights for that little amount of time I did in my Blood Angels list taught me better movement, better player.
Yeah.
So again, we've already talked about, like, it's not to say that I'm not going to play a different faction. It's to say that when I play that faction, it's not the faction I'm competitively playing. Sure. I am playing that to learn more skills going into the next.
I've told the story many times about how way back in the day, one of the things that really upped my skill level was we had this, like, I don't want to call it a narrative league, but it was a league where it was structured to where you would get bonus points for a win. Well, that makes sense, but the bonus points were really small. What you actually did, because it was supposed to be a community building league, was the goal was talk to your friends and I want you to trade lists with them. You get way more, you get like 2 wins worth of points by playing a different faction 1 week. So it would be like, hey, I'm going to play my list and have fun this week, and I got some points for a win. Okay, cool. Next week, hey, buddy, can I borrow your stuff? Can I play your list against him next week? And whether you built your own list or whatever, you played a different faction. So you noted that, and then you got bonus points. So by the end of this league, I had played every faction in the game at that time at least once. I researched them, I built a list, and I played that faction at least once. And did I lose a bunch? Absolutely. Did I win a bunch? Also, sure. But you know what I really did? When I play against sisters and I say like, I don't know what you're bitching about, it's not so bad. And then you play with them and you really start to feel the limitations that they have, because every faction has limitations, right? We can all say like, Space Marines get everything, they're fine. But if you don't play Space Marines, you don't realize that, like, man, why is literally every model 1OC? It just doesn't click until you play with them, right? No, I'm not saying that like being 1OC across the board makes you the worst, right? But it is a limitation that you don't fully realize when you're used to, like, I only play Orcs and Eldar and whatever else, and I've got like 2OC and kind of everything. Like, it's different. So, the last part of this I want to get to is if we kind of evaluate the choices that you're making. Some of the choices, and we kind of already touched this, I guess, but the choices that you make for your play, whether it's competitive play or general whatever, we have to kind of put them into 2 categories. We have to put them into preferences, and we have to put them into needs. Now, preferences, absolutely, right? I own 2 bricks of Sanguinary Guard, and I'd love to play them because I think they're the coolest painted models I got. Yep. And that's cool. That's a great preference. And if you want to play them and we can make that work, that's a preference we could facilitate in competitive play. But since the actual goal is leaderboard, maybe we find out that 2 6-man bricks isn't quite the right answer. A need is different. A need is based upon my skills, my limitations. I don't think I fully grasp how to disruption. There's too many things going on. I have to kind of figure out when the burst turns are for scoring. And I don't understand. Yes, that's a skill that we could learn theoretically, but that's not how your brain works, which means it's going to be so much harder for you to figure that out. We could bash our head against the wall, but unless you're excited about it, and that's the thing you want to learn, it's just going to create a bunch of animosity and a bunch of frustration when there's no reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
We could just go play priority and be so much happier. So needs versus preferences. And this, it becomes a little bit of a gray area here, but we need to really try to put those in there. And we need to be honest with ourselves and make our list of needs as small as we can. And then after we do that list, we have to then really take that information in. We have to acknowledge that, like, yep, these are my needs. My skills say that I'm bad at this. I'm good at this. This is what I want to do. But if it ain't on this list, I can't bitch about it when someone suggests, why are you running a Judy instead of a chaplain?
Yep.
I don't get to bitch about it because it's not on my needs list. I need to take a step back. My goal is leaderboard, which means, do they have a point? Well, let's do some math. Let's do some like scenarios against different factions. Which character's better? You know what? You're right. Judy has a valid point, and I could argue about against these two factions. It's absolutely the best. I was right. You're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's only 2 factions, though.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You got a point. Maybe I should change it because most of the time I want to swap that out.
Yeah.
Okay. But we have to acknowledge that we can't be stubborn. That's not how you become a more competitive player. Okay. Now, along that train of thought, here's how I'm going to kind of wrap this up. Every person needs to have a couple of hard limits. And this is acceptable specifically because the game is so balanced. Even when we don't want to admit it, I don't care that if you're an Imperial Agents player, I understand you got a bad faction. The game is balanced enough that if you put in the effort, you may not be the best player out there, but goddamn, are you going to win some events? Are you going to get up there because you're a good player? You can do that. But these hard limits have to be put in for a short list of reasons. If it doesn't fit those short list of reasons, and we have to be kind of respectful of ourselves as far as knowing what those limits are reasonable and how many of them are us being stubborn, because we need more flexibility. The more flexible we are, the more it's going to, I don't want to say be easier to win, but the more likely it is we're going to give ourselves the tools to use our skills and win. So I want to go over that short list of hard limits. And again, these are going to be vague enough that if you really get stubborn, you could fill out literally every unit, every choice you've made in your 2,000 point list could fall under this like hard limit preference, like need, whatever. Like
if I tick too many boxes, I'm just being stubborn.
Correct. But I left these 3 reasons of why we're going to put hard limits on what we're doing vague enough intentionally. So the 3 hard limits is we have to limit ourselves from being too flexible for the enjoyment of the game. That's the first one. Okay.
Don't be too flexible or be flexible.
Yeah. You want to be as flexible as you can, but we can't just say, well, I don't give a shit. I'll play anything.
You're right. I've already done that.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, right? These are things that we have to acknowledge, and these are for all people, not just yourself. If you say, I just want to win, all I care about is getting first at this GT that I go to every year, I'll play anything, you are going to lose the enjoyment of the game, which means when you have to get in hours and hours and hours of practice games in, you are going to get burnt out, you're not going to enjoy it, and you're not going to be motivated enough to better your skills. Yeah, you might get better with that list, but if you're not bettering your skills, the minute that list changes, you're back to square one. And how helpful was that really? You wasted your time. Okay? So there is some hard limits that we need to put to prevent ourselves from being too flexible. One of those is the enjoyment of the game. We have to put, you love Blood Angels. Yes, you play knights. Yes, you're willing to play other things. But when it comes to competitively, you want it to be Blood Angels.
Yep.
Because that's the thing that keeps you motivated. That's the thing that you love about the game, both lore and tabletop, etc. The second one is a justification of time and dollars spent. This funnels down to kind of the same thing I was the explanation I had for the enjoyment of the game. If you say, I'll play anything, I'm hard limiting Blood Angels, but also I'll do whatever, I don't give a shit. Okay, but how much time are you going to spend hobbying? How much time are you going to spend in practice games where you don't give a shit about any of those models?
Yeah.
Did you really put in that much effort to a list that doesn't have a single jump pack, and you absolutely just, you feel like you're playing basic Marines with, I guess, Mephistons in their list somewhere? I'm not saying that that might not happen, but also if you have this mentality of, I don't give a shit, I'll do anything, just because you want to win, winning is not the most important thing. Okay? Yes, we're trying to leaderboard. Yes, we want to get you a first place at some GT somewhere. I'm on board and we can work on that. But if you just say, I'll do whatever it takes, I don't care, the I don't care always turns into a lack of motivation, which is the thing that actually prevents you from getting there. It's not that you limited yourself to like, but I really want to play this style of list. That's not preventing you from getting first place.
No.
But saying, I'll do whatever, I don't care, you just tell me how to win, that does limit you from getting first place, because now you're not motivated enough. You just wanted to be handed something. You want to be handed a trophy.
I think my hard limit in that aspect is it's kind of an odd one. I want to play Blood Angels, and I want to be the number one with Blood Angels without falling into the conformities of what everyone in Blood Angels, like everyone says you should take these things in Blood Angels. You should do this. Not to say that they're always wrong, because I mean, right now it's going around the internet, Blood Angels taking in lag, taking Blade Guard plus Chaplain plus Sanguinary Priest. Well, I was already on that before it is even announced on the internet. It's a great choice. I'm not saying I'm going to avoid all of those things. I'm saying my objective in this is to prove a point. Not only to be number one, but to prove the point of you can do what you want to do. The internet is not going to be the place you're going to find the answer. We're going to sound like a Disney movie real quick. The answer was inside you all along. You cannot rely on the internet to give you an answer. You have to find the competitive choices that fit you. And if that means taking some of the most unconventional choices, how many times have I been critiqued with the choices I've made with the lists I've built?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing all infantry units? That just seems terrible. That's all I heard all last edition. And every time I'd rack them up, by the end of it, they'd go, I didn't realize that they could do that. Absolutely, your tank said goodbye from melee chainswords.
Okay, so I'm going to sum that up into a pretty banner that we're going to call kind of staying true to your playstyle. Okay? The internet. There are people out there that absolutely won first place at GT with Blood Angels using a list that used lag and was different than yours. And I'm not saying that their list was bad, okay? But that fit their play style. And one of the things is you want to tick almost all those same boxes that they did almost at that exact same time, except for you have a different play style.
Yep.
And if you just say, like, I don't care about my play style, I'm going to play what they played because I know that works. Again, you're not going to have the motivation to get the practice in. You're not going to have the excitement to fully understand things because you're just saying, well, this was supposed to be the easy button. This was supposed to be the way I got a first place and someone handed me a trophy. You need a couple of hard limits so that you can stay happy and motivated enough to get to where you want to be. The last thing, the third thing, that we've kind of already touched on is we also have to recognize our individual limitations and strengths. Okay? So if we say, yeah, I'll play anything, I just want to win, there's an amount of that we can't do. Okay? You have a play style that you have cultivated and is doing well for you. It's great that you have that, but there's a reality that we have to acknowledge of, if I took some list that just won first place and I put it in front of you, you're not going to be as good with that list as they were. Not because they're a better player or not because you're a worse player, but because they don't match play styles. And if you just pretend, well, I'm not attached to any specific unit, I'm not attached to any specific this or that, I'll just do, again, whatever. It doesn't actually work. You have strengths. We should play to those. You have limitations. Do I think, based upon the way you've been playing, that you're going to enjoy Disruption? Not at this time.
No.
Okay? That's not to say you couldn't learn it, but you would not enjoy it at this time, right?
No.
Now,
I have to acknowledge some very hard truths if I was going to enjoy it.
Right. And that's not to say that you won't later on down the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only because they update the missions for Disruption and they become more tenable to you, but also you get a new Space Marine Codex, you get a new Blood Angel supplement, and now, these new detachments, and Disruption doesn't seem so bad anymore. And you could still end up playing Disruption over the course of the next season.
Mm-hmm.
But for right now, at this point in time, we have to recognize our limitations, that we don't want to spend too much time wasted on you trying to play Disruption because it doesn't fit your playstyle. You don't quite have those strengths. You do have these other strengths. Let's see if we can maximize those to rocket you where you want to be.
Yep.
So again, we want to be as flexible as possible, but we have to set ourselves a few hard limits. Hard limits being, we have to maintain our enjoyment of the game. We have to have a realistic expectations / justifications of our time and our dollars, because there's plenty of us that I play Space Marines. I can't own 3 units maxed out of every unit. I can't afford that shit.
No.
Okay. And then we also have to recognize our individual limitations and our individual strengths. Okay. That's not to say that these limitations are negative. They're just a fact of life, and we accept that I don't have that right now. I could work on that, but the amount of time it would take me to fix that, I'd have to spend all next season changing my view on reconnaissance or whatever it is, right? Or I could spend the whole season just learning reconnaissance enough as to how to defend against it. I only need to learn one reconnaissance mission that's way easier for me to understand. And my strength is Blood Angels. My strength is take and hold. My strength is mobility and positioning. That's what we want to focus on, is mobility and positioning. That's where you shine the most. Okay. So beyond those 3 hard limits, we want to maintain our flexibility. A lot of these questions I asked in this order specifically. I had my little notes here, because you don't want to, when you're asking yourself these questions, or maybe you go to one of your friends, right? And then you rattle off these questions to them. You want to try to maintain this order as much as you can, because you don't want to taint their answer, right? They own 3 different factions. If you start with, you should be as flexible as possible. Also, what faction do you want to play? Well, you've already kind of slid in some you should say all of them. You should say whatever you think is best. I'm open to whatever. That's not how you get a true answer, right? You start with, what faction do you want to go competitive with? They're going to tell you one. They may own 3, 4. They're going to tell you oh man, but CSM, that's the one. I really want to do that. Yep. I mean, I also own some World Eaters and Thousand Suns, but CSM, that's the one I think Vashdor is the coolest model in the game. Hell yeah. Again, you want to kind of stick to this order. Okay. So I hope that gives you some food for thought as you are looking at yourself when you go towards working this new season, trying to get to that leaderboard status, trying to evaluate your lists and what you're going to do, especially with the new Space Marine Codex that's coming out. You're going to have to kind of ask yourself this question again.
It sounds like I'm already there.
For now. But again, we have a lot of changes.
We've got a lot of changes coming up. I've got to keep what I'm doing. Because even when the new edition changed, I had a list. We were so excited about it. And then immediately everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked and my points got increased. And I was like, oh, it wasn't even by a lot. It wasn't. Arguably, the units got up by 10 here, 10 there.
But I don't actually think it was the point changes. The reality is, yes, the points went up and you lost some stuff. That wasn't your problem. The original list you had was all geared around, we're going to use the new battle shock that they spoiled, and we're going to maximize that, and it sticks around longer. And we're gonna battle shock their whole list, and it's great. What really changed is we only saw a couple of the new missions, and because they're so dynamic or asymmetric compared to each other, you started playing the new edition, and you realize that even if I pick take and hold, and I'm doing the same thing kind of every game, my opponent's doing so wildly different things that the minute I play against a recon player, they're not bunching up enough to battle shock. I can battle shock some of their stuff, but there's no way to battle shock their whole list. My auras aren't that big. It worked when we were doing that like 10.5 practice because we were able to convince them to like, there's only a couple of central objectives. You need to dogpile on them. Well, now dogpiling on an objective is less needed. The objective's so big, I can get 15 OC on there and you don't even see me yet because I'm hiding behind the wall. So I think the missions are what convinced you. The list was good. The idea was good. We were super excited about it. We recognized how different and asymmetric the missions were. And we had to take a step back and say, this idea sounds cool. I don't know that it's as competitive as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate you guys for hanging out for a little discussion. I hope that you're able to take this information and kind of internalize it a bit and recognize in yourself how to become a better, more competitive player. I know this is kind of an odd one for us, but we'll just keep doing as many cool things as we can figure out how to do.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, until next time, thank you all for listening. Tune in next week. Hey, everybody. It's Aaron. I want to thank you again for tuning in for this episode of Gopher's Workshop with us, hanging out and listening. Remember, leave a 5-star review. Let us know what you think. And if you feel like supporting us, you can always go to Patreon in the show notes below. Thanks. Till next time.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.